Kalle Sauerland, citizen of the world, man who travels everywhere. Thanks for joining us on VIP TV today. Where are you in the world at the moment?
Steve, first of all, lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you. And I'm in London today. I'm in London town. No quarantine required for once, so I'm out and about, creating travel wherever I can go. And no, we're trying to get things back up and running. Everything seems to be slowly but surely moving forward, and that's good signs. I've seen both the big promoters in the UK have had a good week, a couple of weeks or a few weeks of shows, and enjoyed watching them. And there's a big Team Sauerland show in Germany this weekend, so Germany's back up and running. The Americas, top rank, I think, done a fantastic job throughout lockdown, basically, to provide content as well. Golden Boy, I think, has been out, so it's all coming back slowly. Missing those crowds, of course. You can put it with great studios. You can put it in your garden. You can put on fireworks, but of course you miss a crowd. You can sell yourself on. Oh, I like listening to the boxers talking in the corner, and I like the sound of the gloves better now landing. But at the end of the day, no replica for the real thing, and hopefully we'll be there soon as well.
And what's the situation for you in Germany on Saturday with no crowds? You at a TV studio, or have you got an arena somewhere? You've made look good. So I know you're the king of production. I've seen all your stuff you do out there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've got very little to do with the one. I'm focusing totally at the moment on the World Boxing Super Series. That's my brother doing it. He loves the production as well.
Don't he just?
Not so as much as me. He's more focused on the boxing. Yeah, I love the razzmatazz. But it's a cracking fight over there. This Abbas Baru, I don't know if you've seen him, but he was runner-up at the World Championships as an amateur. Really started strong in his pro career, and he's got a big fight this weekend with Jack Kulkai. His first fight with Adam Booth, the Dark Lord, as well. So that adds a bit of spice in it. He's had a great camp with an amazing setup that Adam's got. Again, he's just got a great team together there with obviously with Conlon. Kelly, he's got some outstanding talents, and I think Abbas fits nicely into that group of fighters there. So
yeah, you mentioned Kulkai there, who's fighting this weekend. Who almost I'm guessing the B. So when you signed in, we used to have him on Box Nation. You had him and Fegenbutz. I thought you were going to rule the world with them both for years.
Yeah, well, boxing takes its turns. I mean, Fegenbutz started out being this underscript, wasn't he? He was underscript. You weren't sure whether you were watching MMA or boxing really with him. But he was only 18, 19 when we were doing it together, Steve. I think if you were showing the show, he was 18, 19. I mean, he was WBA world champion when he was 19, I think. So, and then he lost to De Carolis in a big upset, and he changed his team. He changed the team a couple of times. For me, he's always been at the wrong weight. So he was at super middle. He's a natural middleweight. He's going down now. He had a tough fight with Caleb Plant for the world title in February. Didn't go his way. And it showed the weaknesses. He's a great puncher, great finisher. One of the best, actually, out there still for me. But he needs to go down a weight, and he needs to focus on his boxing. But he's got time. He'll be back. And the Kulkai, this is the sort of, I think this is the fight. If he doesn't win on Saturday, I think it'll be the end of the road, more or less, for him. So it's a big night for him. And for Abbas Baru, it's a massive opportunity, So it should be a great fight Friday night, Berlin.
Yeah, you touched on the World Boxing Super Series, and it's not just been the great fights at cruiserweight, super middleweight, super lightweight, and bantamweight. What I loved about it is, because I'm like you, I love the sport. It brought in a new audience. Casuals got into them. It was in the mainstream, and casuals switched onto it, which is brilliant. It brought in new fans, which made it even better. Where are we with that? With the second cruiserweight final, was it Dortikis and Marius Bredos? I think it was meant to start. Go on.
That's correct.
Still got lots away.
And it's Breedis Dortikos, and we're almost there. Hopefully with the final. Planning season 3. The final's a bit different to organise than your boxing events that are going on at the moment. We've had lots of problems. Obviously, Dortikos, he's a Cuban living in Miami, high risk area, bringing him over. it's a to be honest, it's an effing nightmare. But I think we're getting closer and closer, and when we've had lots of things to get through on this final. But looking forward to see it, and most importantly, we're working on season 3. That's obviously, with the corona, we've had to basically reset plans there a bit on season 3. But we've thoroughly been working through lockdown on getting that up and ready, and that's changing its dynamics as well. So I can't say too much at the moment because it is very much a working plan right now, but we're looking forward to season 3. And, when you said it, you put a big smile on my face because, yes, that's what the idea of a tournament in boxing, I've always said it, if you've got the right guys or the right ladies in the future, maybe, and you've got the best against the best, there's no fucking about. It is what it is, and fair play to all the great fighters who have signed up for the World Boxing Super Series, put their cojones on the line and wanted to see what they're made of. And, you can look at them, whether it's the likes of Usyk, Callum Smith-Groves, Eubank, Inouye, Josh Taylor. I'm just saying some of the names, but all these guys, you see what they're boxing on now and what they were boxing on before the tournament. They didn't necessarily have to go into a tournament and expose themselves potentially. I don't think anyone did expose themselves because I think everyone who went in, they showed they were great fights. Even the losers. Look at even Gassiev, he came off better, than the losing finalist. I think you could argue with look at Donaire.
Yeah.
He lost to Inouye.
He's back.
I mean, before the tournament, people were saying, you're nuts putting him in. You're absolutely crackers, Kalle. There's so many good bantamweights. Why are you putting Nonito Donaire in there? I said, because it's his natural weight. That's the weight he fights at. And he won't make weight. He won't make weight. I remember we had Paul Butler on standby as a reserve. And I had Joe Gallagher. I'm on a weights machine in Miami. We had the week before we were promoting in Florida, weights machine in Miami, and in a gym. And I've got Joe on the phone at 5 a.m. my time. I've heard he's been in Disneyland. He's overweight, Kalle. He's not going to turn up. Should I tell Paul to get ready? I said, listen, Paul should be ready because boxing the fight could fall apart the scales. Let people not make weight. But I said he's going to. And I remember everyone on me before, he's never going to make the weight. And listen, Nonito, what he did in the final, it shows us all, I'm also the wrong side of 40 now. Telling you, he made me feel a bit younger in Tokyo. He made me feel a bit younger. And a lot of us did that night. He just rewound the clock. He showed, everyone said, here's the little monster. He's going to tear him up. He's going to do this. And he did try and tear him up and he almost put a hole in him. But he got back off that and then almost put a hole in him. It was a brutal fight. And just one of many, I can think about Breedis, Usyk in season 1, that semi-final, which so close. I had it a draw, which would have meant that Breedis would have gone through because the fourth judge had it for Breedis by a round. It's down to the wire, There's lots of those. And Steve, listen, you've been around the sport long enough to know you can talk your way up as a promoter. You can do this as a promoter. You can do that. There's no recipe better than putting the best against the best. It's as simple as that. Don't need to talk it up. I don't even press conference. I just sit there. These are the fighters. Let them get on with it. And with the exception of a few let's call them outbursts. I'm just thinking about my Turkish friend Ahmed at the one press conference. We had a bit of handbags at a few weigh-ins, but more on a sporting level. I remember Josh Taylor and Progress before the fight at the O2 the final, and when we had them face to face, it went off. Josh, I didn't say he put a Glasgow kiss on him, but he felt he wanted to. But you felt it was real. It wasn't, something that, because it makes him look like a bad man. It was genuine. And afterwards, I went for a pint.
I know.
That's the way sport should be. That's the way. I'm all for not a violent weigh-in, but I'm all for showing that emotion at a weigh-in, and you've got to get between them, and you've got to have the right security in place, and let them show what it means before, but then also look at them after the fight. Look at the way they behaved. It was a tight fight. It was a great fight, and both of them, credit to them, they're having beers the next morning, Sunday morning in the pin. Josh, I'm having a fight to come down. So terrific lad, by the way, as well. Terrific lad, Josh.
Well, you mentioned the series 3. You can't reveal too much. Well, when are you looking to start that, and what weights? What are we looking at? Early next year, or
early next year is the plan. Once again, is the plan. Like everything in boxing, everything in the world at the moment is the plan. That's very much our timeline, not what we want. But we've got hurdles to get through. In terms of how you put on a tournament, not an event, a tournament in this state of a pandemic, or whatever you want to call it. So many different words these days. You can always select one for each sentence you use. But that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, whether it's 3 weights, 2 weights, 4 weights, 1 weight. That's a little bit the modelling we're doing at the moment. But yeah, I mean, the target weights, as said before, they for me haven't changed. Nothing's changed like that. It's just you've got to look at each weight class and see, okay, what are they doing at the moment? Is it what's happening? And that's of course changed a bit. We pretty much had the calendar set up to go, and is what it is. Listen, the whole World Boxing Super Series are lucky to be involved in such a great project, and in times like this, it's of course it's tough times for everyone. We've got to pull together and get this done, but there's no feeling sorry for yourselves at the moment, because there's enough things to feel sorry about with other people and other places around the world at the moment. So. But
would it be because of what's going on, this pandemic? Obviously, you want to have massive crowds back, because everyone flocks to the Super Series. But would it be easier signing fighters for it in the current climate, given so many fighters don't know what's out there for them long term now?
I think you made that's a very valid argument, Steve. I mean, if you look at generally what you get when you sign up, right? And I remember we had a lot of arguments with Baranchik and Progress when they had to come over to, not the boxers, the teams, I'll add, not the boxers, about coming over to the UK to fight Taylor once in Scotland, once in the final. And they were arguing, but then they sort of played it on the timeline of the tournament and said, but the final should have been in September and not in October. Listen, I said, you're getting in 12 months, you're getting 3 top level. I'm not just talking about top earning fights, but top level fights in 12 months. Now, I know some champions are very active, but 3 fights in 12 months for any pro is a dream, especially if you know it before, because you can plan. You're a trainer's wet dream, because you're on time, you're off time, the whole sequence. You can plan it. And that's the biggest sporting feedback that maybe you've heard all the plaudits and the applauses of the WBSS and what it delivers in terms of the fights. But you listen to what the fighters say after the tournament, say, "Wow, brilliant! I knew exactly what was happening, when was happening. I knew that I would be active, and obviously, it's pro boxing, paid well. So those things stack up. And I think in a time of uncertainty, and we will look to have the most certain timeline and let's say surroundings of how to do the events, because we're a bit more flexible than, let's say, a normal promoter with our system. The most certain way of doing it, or the most safest and plannable way of doing it and delivering the fights for the fighters. Of course, I can't rule out a worldwide lockdown, nor can anyone else at the moment. But I do think that the guarantee for the fighter like you said, it's with us is you're pretty sure on it, So that's it is a major selling point, and I guess that's only gone up in stock because of what situation we're in at the moment.
Yeah. Well, obviously, thanks for the update on the Super Series. Let's just talk about some of your other fighters, and I've got to ask you about this. There was a fair bit of talk about Alen Babic taking on Hrgovic after Babic beat the 40-year-old cruiserweight who on Saturday night. I just wondered what you thought of it. I mean, I found it a bit scary, but you might have been on the phone to Eddie making it.
No, listen. I mean, I think in a career you've always got to talk up fights. I mean, that's the way you make a name for yourself, yeah. But I wouldn't recommend that fight at the moment. I truly wouldn't. I mean, he seems like a very nice kid, and I'm sure he's going places in due course, But I think Hrgovic for me is in the top 5-6 heavyweights out there right now.
Yeah. So, you can argue that. You look at. The main three still there: Joshua, Whyte, and the one. And after that, it could be anybody.
Even though Wilder's lost, even though Whyte has lost, I still put them in there.
Yeah, of course you would. Yeah,
100%. But I also would put Hrgovic a step up of a Daniel Dubois. Although Dubois has got a big fight coming up, that might put him on level peggings, whatever. But I think that Daniel's a great prospect, and I think it's a cracking fight with Joyce. To be honest, it's a cracking fight. I can't work out why Joyce is some massive outsider with the bookies. I mean,
it's amazing you say that. A lot of people, especially boxers who I've spoken to,
because I tell you where it comes from. It comes from the basis that an expert has said when they've looked at that fight. The bookies have gone, well, Dubois is a puncher and Joyce gets hit, right? They're two facts. But Joyce gets hit. I ain't seen him wobbled yet. He's a tough sort. Yeah, he's a tough guy who comes forward and forward and forward and forward. He's, as I say, I haven't seen that much of him. I have watched Dubois, but Dubois for me a little bit still one for the future. It's a big fight to take for him now. To be fair, I don't think he loses in that fight. By the way, if he wins or loses, I think it impresses him. And I think at the moment we saw him on Saturday with Dillian Whyte. Your own doesn't necessarily have to go, but it don't mean shit at the moment in heavyweight boxing.
Povetkin really well
last year. You've seen Tyson, although he's very much still got his own attach, and is for me the absolute king of the division at the moment. There's no shadow of a doubt on that. But I think everyone can get beat on their day right now. That's what makes heavyweight boxing exciting again. If I look back at the decade, which we were also very, very much partly involved in, obviously of Germany and the Klitschko's ruling the heavyweights. It might have been fun times for German boxing, but I can understand why people are now jumping over the heavyweights because it's competitive again.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know. I mean, for me, Tyson Fury made Deontay Wilder look like it was man against boy in the rematch. But where does Wilder go from there? I think it's very difficult for him to come back now against Fury. I think he beats every other heavyweight on his day.
Really, yeah.
I do think Wilder's. I know you say he's a one-trick pony, but the one trick he does it's one hell of a trick to do, and he's still got 36 minutes to do it in. And look at the fight before. He was losing clearly. Who was it? Ortiz. Losing clearly, I think 7th round, bomb. That lights out. He would have said, that's just the way I fight. I wait for that moment. I know that moment will come. With Fury, it's a bit different, though. He took his tool away. He took that one trick away.
Yeah.
It wasn't rocket science what he did either. He didn't let him get off the back foot. He went at him. People say, oh, he's not going to knock out. Tyson is if he ever decides to become a trainer, will be one of the best trainers that are out there, because he knows the game in and out. And he did the most simple thing in the world. He put him on the back foot from the first moment, not by trying to knock him out, he just pushed him forward. He went at him, he didn't let him get off the back foot. And Wilder, that shot, he can't throw it off the back foot. He's not Nassim Hamed, you know, he can't throw a shot off the back foot. And that's fact, you know, and that was glaringly obvious. It wasn't that he had to move around onto the, you know, he didn't have to move to the right to avoid the right. He just went straight at him and took away. So, you know, but Tyson is deceptively fast in a ring.
Yeah, well, he's fast.
He don't look fast. He don't look fast when you look at him. But he is fast. He's very, very fast with the footwork, and that skill took that tool out of play. So I don't see what he's going to do in the rematch. You know, he's worked him out for me, but you know, we're there to be proven wrong, as Povetkin proved many people wrong on Saturday. Not me though, not me.
I know. I'm going to ask you that in a minute, but just on heavyweights there, another heavyweight you know better than most. He's with you a long time. You did an incredible job with him and got him right up there. Kubrat Pulev, has he got a chance against Joshua? Or is it his age really against him now?
We don't release fighters if we believe that they still have a chance of winning the heavyweight championship. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, no chance.
Okay. Povetkin.
I mean, listen, there's always I can slip up on the quick rope. Listen, Kubrat, lovely guy and everything. You know, that night with Klitschko, I remember before the fight, he goes to me, "Come on, Kalle, psych me up." And I'm like, "What?" You know, and he's funny. He's a character. Kubrat is great sense of humour. And he was saying on the way, walk to the ring, and it was one of them big entrances. He's gone to me, "Come on, you know, fire me up," sort of thing. You know, so I'm shouting and effing and blinding at him, and I'm thinking, this is really surreal now, right? And his corner was a very quiet corner. It was an East German coach, didn't say much.
Yeah,
The other crew in the corner didn't say much either. So there's me going, "You miss your fight." I'm thinking, I hope there is a fight, because if I'm effing and blinding him and then there's no fight, he's going to be coming after me like a wasp you've just antagonised. But that he was up for it, and he landed a very, very good punch on Klitschko. I think it was in the first round. Wobbled Klitschko. You've got to walk it back. He lands one very, very good punch, and that was his moment. Didn't take it. Klitschko absolutely took him to the cleat. I mean, really. I mean, he's kept on standing up, but I mean, they were brutal knockdowns. To be honest, each time he went down was so concussive, and he's never been the same since.
Right,
he's been a scared fighter since for me. His attributes have always been the same. They're good. They're good amateur turned professional
basics,
attributes.
Yeah, brilliant with the basics. Yeah,
absolute spot on the basics. He'll do that all night long. For AJ, far too slow. And like I said, I don't know whether he'd get back up that many times again.
Yeah. And Povetkin, it never surprised you. I know I saw a picture of you with your old pal Alexander last week, and I saw a lot of people telling me how you were telling people how it was going to go, and you were right.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you know, he's a tricky one for me because it's sentimental. He's the first pro fighter I ever signed.
Really? I didn't know that, yeah? I knew he was with you. I didn't know that was your first ever signing.
Yeah, it was my first ever signing, 2005, 15 years ago. Before that, I was just trading television rights in boxing. You know, my dad was in. I was more in football. I was a football agent, you know, and he was. I remember when the Olympics was on, I spoke to the old man. He said, have you seen that Povetkin? I looked at him and I was like, listen, if there's one fighter we need to sign, it's him. And everyone was after him. So they all flew to Russia. Warren was over there. It was King, Arab, you know, the usual squad. And I think I camped out in this lovely, and it is a lovely little village just outside, about an hour outside Moscow. I was over there for the whole summer. I mean, I when I got back, I had to get a liver transplant of all the vodka I drank. But it was worth it because we had a hell of a time. became world champion against Hrgovic, and I took him all the way to the Klitschko fight, which, listen, I'm going to have sour grapes here. I'm going to be a very bad loser, but I still say the referee robbed him that night of any chance. I'm not saying he would have won, but he was every time he came in close, he held. Every time, and Povetkin needs to fire off those shots in a certain range. You saw that on Saturday.
Yeah,
he knows what that range is, and every time Klitschko knew exactly what that range was, and every time he came close, they took a point off, but they took a point off in the 11th round. So it was sort of I'll call it sour grapes now. It's a long time ago, and it was a $23.3 million purse bid, so everyone was happy. It was. Yeah, but we really attached as people. He don't speak a word of English, and my Russian is not great. But we had some fantastic times together, and we met. He messages me every year on my birthday. One of the only people who always remembers it first. And he just he's such a nice fella, and he is true fighting blood. I do feel for Dillian though. At the same time, I feel that a man who's 3,000 days mandatory. I think it must be a first in the sport, but he didn't put him away in that fourth when he should have. The signs were for me early. Everyone said that Dillian was in control and everything. They don't know Povetkin then very well because he was teeing that up. He hit him 2-3 times with solid left hooks to the body, and his hook and uppercut. That wasn't an uppercut. That was a 45. An uppercut looks very different. So everyone called it an uppercut. It's wrong. It's when you look at Povetkin, he has a left hook, which is his absolute honey punch. But this one here was a hook come uppercut. Jimmy Montoya, Kessler's former trainer, always called it the 45, so I call it the 45. Yeah. For me, it was coming. Whyte should have finished it in the fourth, and it wouldn't have come. Yeah. So, but that's heavyweight boxing. Like Dillian said, it happens. It is what it is. He looked like he was trying to box maybe a bit more than he should have been, because I think Dillian's such an improved fighter from going back to the Joshua fight. If you look at his improvement as a fighter, he's really improved very well under Tibbs, and I think this the new trainer he has is also a very good technical trainer, and maybe he needs more time with that. But we can talk about it all day long. Had he put him away in the fourth, everyone said brilliant on the corner, great that he changed camps and everything.
Fine margins, isn't it?
But it didn't happen in the fourth. But let's not forget he had him down twice. So, could have easily been talking about, or was it now Whyte against Fury Wilder? So I wouldn't read too much in that. I think the only person who knows really what's going on is Dillian, and I think credit to him for being so patient, I guess. But also credit, but I must admit, it would never happen. I would never let it happen with a fighter of ours that they would take such fights being mandatory.
Oh no, yeah.
That's the first rule. You don't roll the dice when you're mandatory. Sounds very horrible. Lots of fans will say, "Well,
business."
But you are in a business of making the biggest fights, and the biggest fights, for him would have been the winner of Fury Wilder. He clearly wanted the Povetkin fight. I'm sure Eddie wasn't rushing him into it. I very highly doubt that. People's pointing fingers at Eddie. I don't think Eddie needs to fill pay-per-view dates with that fight. I think, he's much happier sitting back and letting him wait for the winner of Fury Wilder.
Absolutely. You were talking...
No gate on Saturday. So I don't think that's coming from Eddie. I think, I think Dillian is a true fighter. And he's taken. This is not the first 50-50 he's taken, by the way. Yeah, I mean, let's just look at the Rivas and the Parker fights. Yeah, I mean, the Parker fight he pulled out the bag. So he's no danger of taking the 50-50s because he's almost got caught out before.
Rivas was 25-0.
Really got to credit Dillian for giving giving fans amazing fights. Yeah, but looking back at it, these things happen. Then if you're going to take 50-50s, you're going to. For me, Rivas, Parker, and Povetkin are 3 50-50 fights. Now, I don't know, I'm not a betting man, but if I toss a coin 3 times, I'm sure once I'm going to get it wrong.
Yeah.
And that happens, especially at heavyweight. And that's 36 rounds against guys who being heavyweights naturally have the ability to stop you in a second,
Finally, before we let you go, Kalle, you've been giving us so much time and you've been fantastic as always. A quick update on Zack Parker, your British fighter.
Yeah, I mean, Zack Parker had a fantastic win against Ryan Murdoch. Full in the swing of things. He's basically the next challenger to Billy Joe after Canelo in the list. That's a very unclear situation at the moment. So he's in a sitting sweetly there. IBF have also called him to box a final eliminator against Stefan Hurtel. But at the end of the day, he's already got that spot sort of thing. So. Like I just said, to you about Dillian.
Not mandatory, yeah.
Not too many 50-50s required,
No,
there's a few domestic fights. I'd love to see Parker versus Fielding. I think would be a good one. There's a few good fights to be made, at that weight. But he's a smashing talent, smashing talent. He had a terrible injury, 18 months ago now with a shoulder. But he's done the business in the fights, and he's slick. He's a great puncher, as we've seen, and I think definitely boxing for a world title in 2021. Sorry.
Kalle, thank you very much for joining us today with your update and your opinions and your little stories about getting drunk on vodka when you were spending a month signing Povetkin. It's been
months of getting drunk.
To catch up with you. Good luck with your podcast you're doing.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't. I mean, if you want to call it a podcast, it's not really a podcast. It's more of a banter. I'm far too talkative to let people talk, so it's more of a banter with me on a level. And we've got some good guests coming up. We had Josh Taylor and Tom Gray on the first one, and we're going to have there's some fantastic ones that we're doing and they're coming up, but. It's good fun, I even did a pub quiz during lockdown. I don't know.
I meant to come on to it, yeah.
But did a fantastic pub quiz, which was brilliant. But I had one highlight on there. Well, highlight, I wouldn't call it a highlight. But the low light of it was I had a flasher, and it wasn't the sort of flasher I like. It wasn't exactly my cup of tea. Let's put it that way. I think he was around 80. I think it was like a Greek name or something. We saw it after. I was like, oh my God. And I'll tell you a funny one. So we had to fake a studio almost. One was sitting in Germany, one was in Copenhagen, one was in London. So I had my earpiece in, and I've tried to do it subtly because I can see all the people on it. Yeah. And I mean, we had 350,000 views on this podcast. So it was pretty big. But we could only get 100 people on the live one in the Zoom room. So I've seen the guy, he's doing his thing, yeah, and I've got a wanker on my screen, and they've got to me, yeah, but that's normal. I said, no, I've got a wanker on my screen. He's wanking, right? And I'm trying to keep it low, and now I'm just like flipping out because I'm looking at this guy popping up, and it's horrible, disastrous. So yeah, it was a funny one. It wasn't that funny at the time. I can laugh at it now, though.
Oh, Kalle. Well, thanks again, Kalle. Pleasure.
To see you in person soon.
See you very soon when we're out of all this.
All the very best to you, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, and you. Thank you.
Over and out.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.